up here. Wait a minute here. Your stuff is. Where is your world class theme? Let's play the commercials. Do the. Okay, I got the commercials playing, so we got a little bit of time. Don't know what happened to your world. Don't know what happened to your world class theme there.
An operator has years of experience and wants to help you better achieve your aquatic needs.
Yes.
So if you're an aquatic hobbyist and enthusiast, please visit Canadian Aquatic Auctions today. Their public auctions provide a venue to remarket all aquatic-related products, services, and equipment. If you are just starting out in the hobby, the site has a tack room where you can converse with other aquatic hobbyists like yourself. Canadian Aquatic Auctions is the eBay of everything aquatic. So visit Nelson at his site, www.aquariumauctions.ca, or go check out his Facebook page as well at www.facebook.com/Canadian Aquatic Sales. Together, we can build lasting relationships that are based on listening and servicing your needs in a professional environment. Canadian Aquatic Auctions.
There's a few access, there that they're running on, but they're probably all under contract. But my co-host that usually is on here, he's good friends with
For 6 years, I was a garbage can drugger. I would do any kind of drug I would get my hands on. But here at Teen Challenge, I've walked away from that drug lifestyle for good.
If you know an adult or teenager who's struggling with a chemical addiction, Teen Challenge is there to help. Please, don't wait. Call us today at 417-862-6969 or reach us on the web at teenchallengeusa.com.
Matching stuff together, man, and shooting up a prize and everything. And he works so hard every day. He said something about getting involved. Something like that.
Teens Watching Clock, 106 West Ventura Avenue, Winter Haven, Florida, 33880. Located downtown across from the main post office. When you're short on time, he's right on time. For all of your watch, clock, sales, and service needs, call Steve, 863-294-5630. Sales, service, free estimates, and reasonable rates. That's 863-294-5630. For skis, watch, and clock.
I think he's kind of like a manager or do something like that, but I don't think he needs to be getting in the ring. Yeah.
We play without limits. We create without rules. We are not for sale.
Where you going tonight?
We connect with the whole world.
To me? Yeah.
Every idea we've shaped.
My class reunion tonight, believe it or not. Hell yeah.
Every relationship we've cultivated belongs to us. We demand the freedom to be our uncensored selves. And when something challenges that, we change it.
There was about
together.
500 people in my
This is our time.
Most of them I guess most of them are still alive, I guess. I don't know.
1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Let's start a revolution.
Crap, man. I'm ready to keep going. Going to on in December. I got a hoodie for that. Oh, good. Yeah,
Let's
he's coming to my house tomorrow.
Join the revolution at MeWe.com.
Hey, man, I was in Oklahoma down there. I'd ride with y'all. Thanks. There's nobody does in Oklahoma, man. Yeah, I'd be great. Well, that's because the commission's too tough. Oh, dude, you gotta have a $50,000 security bond. Yeah, well, getting the licensing and everything else for the boys is a pain in the ass. I know. And because there ain't nothing going on in the rest of the college, they work. That's the only place that works. Yeah, that's why. But nobody wants to fool with it. I know, but it'd be a hotbed to open up, wouldn't it? It would be, yeah. If you can get around all that stuff, yeah, sure would. If you can get around, it would just have the money to put the bullshit, down. Yeah. Ever since Tom died, he's run over the city and stuff like that. Feel grateful for the memories captured by grateful. How many songs we playing, brother?
It's not songs. I'm just doing the commercial package. So we get the sponsors in, and because I know how you want to keep the show moving with your guests. So get the commercial in, beforehand. And if there is a point where we do take a commercial, we can do it. So.
Old-time radio adventures, you've come to the right place. This is one nostalgic weekend.
Saturdays and Sundays, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on Action VR Network.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another exciting show of Pretty Boy Doug Masters Kayfabe Corner. My co-host, he's a little bit under the weather tonight, so he couldn't make it on the air. But if anybody's got any questions for myself or my guest, or just want to call and say hi, phone number you reach is 954-246-0398. That's 954-246-0398. My guest tonight, man, I'll tell you what, I really... Everything I've ever heard from him around where I've worked and all that is everything. He's a top A guy. He's a genuine guy. He tells you straight up, and he's always there for you. And that's all I can say about it. He's one good guy, man. He knows the business. He knows his job, man. I like to introduce a good friend of mine, bro, James Beard. Great referee, good friend, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Doug. How you doing, man?
Oh, not bad, brother. Not bad, man. Look, but head back under that knife, again and everything. But, what year it's something, man. I was talking to Rod about it the other day. Yeah, what year did you break into the business, brother? Tell us a little bit about who brought you into the business. Was you Rascal first referee or?
No, I started out. I started out referee, and I was about 85, and just kind of got dared to do it more than anything else. I was playing music around the Dallas area and got to know a bunch of the guys there, and they kind of goaded me into it after a while, after they got to know me a little bit better. And then, you know how it is, they kind of throw you in the water and tell you to swim. That's the way it was with me.
Yeah, you started back in '85. About your tours over in Japan. I remember we've been talking in the past off air about your tours you had over there.
Yeah,
just kind of learn more of your craft there, or how did you all your tours?
Yeah, I honestly, I've been doing this 35 years or so, and I still feel like I'm learning things, But yeah, I got a lucky break early on. Got to go to Japan, and I worked over there for about 7 years, and I learned a lot over there. I think I really grew over there as far as the business goes, and that's where I really first started training guys, and it's where I first started getting involved in booking the creative side of things a little bit, and it was a great experience. That was probably the lucky break in my life, that I got to go over there the first time, and it stuck, and I got to keep going back, and it was a great period of my career, really. I can't say enough about the opportunity to go to Japan and work over there on a regular basis.
Would you live over about 7 years, you're saying? And
what I would do a lot of times is I'd go over there and do a tour, and then I'd stay and work in the training center, and when the next tour came over, I'd do that tour, and then I'd come home, and next time I come back around, do that same thing again. So, I might be over there 6-8 weeks at a time sometimes. And it was a great situation for me, really. During the latter part of that, especially in the early 90s and mid 90s, the business here was kind of dying down a little bit as far as the territories go and all. And I still had that gig over there. So I was pretty lucky. A lot of guys were looking for other jobs, and I was still working. So I was in a good position there. Now I really am blessed as far as that's concerned.
when you got to come back to the States, did you have a gig here you kind of rely on when you come back? Was you working for World Class, or who was you working for? Or did you just kind of take off and rest?
I kept working at the Sportatorium, and I never gave up my spot or lost my spot there. A lot of that has to do with Skandar Akbar. He was there all that time, and I would come back and I'd walk right in and pick up right where I left off. So even if I was gone 6 or 8 weeks sometimes, and I owe a lot of that to him because he kept my spot open for me, and most of the time when I'd get back home, he'd have bookings for me too. So I'd come home and do TV and at Sportatorium, and then we'd take off to Louisiana or Mississippi or Alabama or somewhere, Arkansas, wherever it was. Hack would have a bunch of bookings ready to go, and I'd just jump in the car with him and take off. And so it was a good life for me back in those days. A lot of guys were really scratching around trying to find work, and I was pretty lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I know that personally myself, and he was one guy that was would help you out in any way he could, man. And I kind of feel what you went through when you come back. Most guys will come back from a tour like that and be beat up and wanting to rest and everything. But that's cool, man. You got back to get in the car, going down the road, and do what you do best.
Oh man, there were a lot of times that our tours would end on a Friday. And I would fly. I'd get on the plane. Usually the plane that went directly to Dallas left Tokyo at Narita at about 4:00, and it would fly to Dallas, and I'd get back to Dallas at the same time on the same day I left, so I didn't lose any time coming back. And a lot of times I'd get back. Yeah, it's crazy, but a lot of times I'd get back and I'd jump in a car, somebody pick me up, and I'd go straight to the Sportatorium. If I was running a little late, I might even get dressed in the car, so I'd just go from the airplane to the Sportatorium and go to work, and next morning I'd get up and meet Ack, and we'd take off somewhere. So it was good life for a while.
Oh man, get your bills paid up anyway, huh? How about injuries?
Absolutely.
Injuries.
Yeah. Here's a bad thing about when they find out that you can bump as a referee, they want you to, everybody wants you to do it, and I got to the point to where I was just going, hey, guys, you can't do this all the time. So, but I broke it sounds funny, but I broke a tailbone over in Japan. I took a bump out over the top rope, and I caught my back on the apron, and that still bothers me today, to be honest with you. And I also cracked I cracked a bone in my neck one time. Those are the worst two things. I took a choke slam from Barbarian over there, and it was my fault. I just landed wrong, and I went along, didn't even know what the trouble was. I knew it hurt, but I didn't know what it was until I finally had an X-ray done, and they said, hey, you had a crack there, and I went, well, didn't know that. And and I've had ankles and knees and those kinds of things, but nothing. Those are the most serious, really. Shoulder cup. I worked over there one time, and I had a rotator cuff problem. I had to take some shots just to work the rest of the tour. But I had quite a few injuries over the years. But when you've done this for 30-something years, I guess you can expect that.
30-something years, man, you're still going strong. Yeah, them injuries. That's funny. A lot of people think, all the referees don't get hurt. They just got to get down and count 1, 2, 3, and do the little gimmick thing and stuff. But you just I always tell everybody a referee can make your match or break your match. Do you agree on that?
Well, absolutely. At least that's the way it used to be. The problem today is that a lot of matches aren't worked; they're just performed. So the referee doesn't have the kind of role in it that he once had, at least not in a lot of places. And where I work, they do, because I still do things the way we used to do them. But a lot of the referees these days, a lot of the younger guys, really don't get to be that interactive with the wrestlers like I was. I did a lot of times I'd be in the ring, and if I felt something, I'd call something for the wrestlers, and that kind of thing. So a lot of matches with the young guys, I'd call the whole thing. But the referee was really interactive with the wrestlers and part of the match, when I was working with you guys. But these days, they basically are just kind of there because they have to have somebody to make that count, and there's a lot less a lot less of the I guess the skills that we had to have to be part of the work that's used these days. And it's not the referee's fault. It's just the way the business is. And I hate that, but they don't have any rules. I mean, the rules don't mean anything. They may mean something in one match, and the next match they don't. Fans have no idea what the rules are, to be honest with you. I posted a deal today on Facebook. I saw a guy post the old NWA rules, and I posted it and made a comment about it that this is how things. This is how wrestlers get heat. You have to have rules to get heat, and heat's really the foundation of the business. And without that, then basically all it is just a caricature of the business. And I feel like a lot of the promotions these days, even at the very highest ranks, that's really all it is. It's kind of a caricature of what we used to do. It's the fans aren't emotionally invested in it; they just react. And there's a big difference in that.
Yeah, I know. And you talk about heat. How many matches you ever been to that you just wanted to get out of that ring and get back? Because you missed seeing something, you know what I'm talking about, or got caught not doing something or like that. And then, the fans, they really got into it, man. And like, oh, damn referee, man. They probably call you every dirty name in the book, before you got out of the ring. I bet.
Well, the difference is they cared. That when the fans care about what happens to you or what happens to a wrestler or what happens to anybody in the ring, then that's a whole different feeling and a whole different reaction from just reacting to a big spot or something. When it's just about getting reaction, that's one thing. But when you make them feel something, when you make them care, then they're going to react one way or the other. And then sometimes, back in those days, they get pretty mad about things, and they were really mad. They weren't just playing mad,
I know, man. That's like I've seen them. Oh, Puerto Rico, man. They got one of the refs, Vikingo down there. He hated it.
Oh yeah.
He didn't want you to get no heat on him at all. Like grab the ties. You know what I'm talking about? Get those little
right.
Check
yeah.
that pocket.
Yeah.
Check. You'd have Abby would have his gimmick. His gimmick with him and put it in the pocket. Well, Vikingo just hated it. He wanted to find that gimmick so bad, just so bad. It's funny. We laugh about that, but you're talking about the heat and how the fans nowadays react. I mean, they react now like they're up there with us. You know what I'm saying? Not just sat back and watching it on TV or anything. I think that's great.
Well, a lot of the fans these days when I watch TV, it's almost like the fans are part of the act. They're almost like trained seals. They react to this guy's signature move or signature phrase or whatever, and it's always the same thing. They give it to them every time. And the difference is when you're actually working, you don't really know what you're going to do next sometimes. You're reacting to the wrestler that you're in the ring with. You're reacting to how the fans are reacting to you, and there's not a lot of that pre-planned stuff going on. So, the fans are actually reacting to something they feel instead of just something that they're already programmed to react to, and that's a big difference.
Was there any time that you kind of got scared or kind of really got, oh, man, this guy's really going to catch me on the way back to the dressing room, or was it,
I was concerned for some guys a few times. I've been pretty lucky. The fans tend to have looked at me as a some of the guys used to kid me that I was the biggest baby face in the sportatorium. Well, that's not really true, but I had a pretty good following, and I got a pretty good reaction from the fans there, and so I didn't really have that big of a problem as far as fans getting mad at me. But I saw a lot of times when the fans would get mad at a particular wrestler, and I was kind of concerned about that. I've seen wrestlers get attacked. I've had a few times when a fan has tried to come into the ring, and I even had to protect a wrestler a time or two when that happened. And So they were, they were legitimately upset about something. And then when you do that, that's the danger of getting real heat. But that's what you're really after, though. You want that emotion. You want them to feel something, and then hopefully you got guys like we had at Sportatorium, like Bill Colville and guys like that who protect you outside the ring. You don't have to worry about that so much.
I know. Sometimes they'd bring me. I'd be doing a spot show somewhere, and they say, "Well, your act's taking you out." I'll go. And sometimes that's good, or sometimes it's bad. Walking with act,
Yeah.
It's much easier.
Yeah, spot shows could really be dangerous because you're not with the regular crew that you normally were, as far as the security and all is concerned. You're kind of at the mercy of whoever they happen to hire for that night or whatever, and some of those guys go to sleep on you, and you don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I've seen some of the worst things happen at spot shows than I have like at the Sportatorium when we're doing TV or something. So that was always something you had to be concerned about.
Mm-hmm. I see, man. You've been honored in about every from Hall of Fame there is in the pro wrestling. I've been. What I didn't hear, I'm reading about you. And it's like, man. I mean, you got.
Yeah, I really. It's kind of humbling, and I really feel blessed. I've had a lot of recognition, and I've been very lucky in that, and I don't take it for granted at all. I really, I kind of believe that any honor that you get, any kind of recognition you get, no matter whether it's a local deal or one of the big ones. And I've had a little bit of all of that, and all of them mean just as much to me because if they're sincerely given, and the people that select you or give you that honor are really doing that because they believe that you deserve it. It means a lot, and it means a lot to me that people recognize that I've tried to. I've tried to have the kind of career that and reputation that I guess I'm just trying to uphold a high standard, and the people that recognize that and believe in that, then I just I'm just really blessed that so many people have done that. I don't see a lot of referees getting honors and things, and I think that's kind of a shame because I know a lot of guys deserve it, and not but beyond me for sure. And I'd like to see that happen a little bit more often. But I'm very lucky in that regard. I can't. It's hard to can't really put in words. It's just been a great deal for especially the last few years. The older you get, I guess they think you're better.
No, they better hurry and give it to you, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Or maybe they're trying to give it to you to kind of suggest, hey, it's time for you to get out of here or something like that. I don't know, but trying to get rid of you.
I don't know. And I was like, oh no, bro, you earned every one. I've worked with you, but you've earned every one of them you got, man.
Well, I appreciate that.
Online World of Wrestling, that does the profiles of stuff. You got that in 2015, and they're in Bedford, Texas, man. What would you? I don't know if anybody out there has ever went on that website. All the boys have, sure, check it out and everything. Check yourself out. But how did that go about getting that? I mean, when did you know? Do they call you up? They tell you they're going to give you this award, or is it something that?
Yeah, usually, the most of the time they'll call and give you that kind of a heads up about it. So honestly, I've found out that I've gotten a couple of those things that I didn't even know about. So they're kind of weird, but it's just like. I remember when I got the Cauliflower Alley Award. I was the first referee first referee to receive that one, and I was out in West Texas hunting, and I got a call from Morgan Dollar, who was the executive vice president of the CAC at the time, and then he said, "Man," he said, "I just want to give you some news," and he told me, and I was like, "Wow." you know. So you can get it all kinds of different ways, but any way you get it it's a blessing and an honor. I can tell you that. I've been very, very, very fortunate in that regard.
Well, that's cool. Did you keep on hunting and hurry home, or just wait to wind up getting back to Texas? Hey, do you know a cat called, we're talking about referees here, a guy named Chris Monaco?
I know Chris from, I know him from Facebook. That's the funny thing about Facebook. You get a lot of people on there and you think, you talk to them so many times or get messages from them and you converse with them back and forth and you start thinking you know them, but actually you never met them sometimes. You know? But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's wild. Hey, speaking of, Bronco Lubitsch, you say you get in the car and go to the next town with him. Hey, can you remember the great stories he had to tell you?
Oh man, Bronco was another blessing in my career. I learned so much from that guy, and such a sweetheart of a guy too.
Oh yeah, I heard travel down the road with him and Ike. You couldn't probably get a word in about it.
Oh no, well, who wanted to? I didn't want to get a word in. I just wanted to listen. Yeah.
That's a lot of people don't understand. I was trying to talk about it. Got a caller? Okay. Hello, caller.
Hello, Doug. Hello, Doug.
Hello, how are you doing?
It's Vanessa. I'm doing good. Hey there, James.
Hi, Vanessa. How you doing?
It's great to talk to you.
You too. You too. Good to hear from you.
Yeah. Why did you want to become a referee for World Class back in the day?
Honestly, I grew up watching wrestling. From the time I was a little kid, I remember watching it on old black and white TV back in. I'm an old guy, so I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and the first time I went to the sportatorium, my folks took me. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe. And we lived about 90 miles from Dallas, and then, it was like, wow. I got to see these guys that I've been watching on the black and white TV, and all of a sudden they were in color. And, the guys that I really liked, like Pepper Gomez and Cowboy Bob Ellis, and the guys that I was scared to death of, like Bull Curry and Danny McShane and all those guys. But they were there, and I was like, wow, So, I grew up like a lot of other wrestling fans. I just watched it, and I got into the music business, and it just kind of happened that I got to know a bunch of the guys that worked at the sportatorium at the time, and they kind of they found out after they got to know me a little bit that I kind of had a clue about the business, and they sort of really kind of shoved me into it more than anything else. I really wasn't thinking about doing it. It just kind of threw it on me, and the next thing I knew, I was starting to get booked here and there, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to make a choice at some point to either get off the road playing music or do this. And then the deal from Japan came up, and there wasn't any question about what I was going to do from that point on.
Yeah, the big money.
Yeah, well, it was honestly, of course, the money is great, but it was just a love affair. I love the business, and once I got involved in it, I really became dedicated to learning as much as I could learn, and I wanted to do more than just referee. So I've been very blessed that I've been able to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad though that you enjoyed it. I mean, I watched World Class growing up. I remember.
I hear a lot of that these days, and people tell me I watched you when I was a kid.
Well, I did.
And I'm thinking, am I that old?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. I remember going to see Kevin when I was a little thing, and I couldn't see it. I pulled Dad's shirt. Go on. I'm trying to talk on the phone to a friend of mine. No, you're not. Get away. She's got dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people think I have it.
Get away from me. Just give me my bag and go on, or I'm going to get somebody. Well, then I'm going to tell on you. Sorry. This lady's just driving me crazy while I'm trying to talk to you, James. That's the thing about being in a nursing home with people with dementia. They don't know what they're doing.
Hey, Vanessa, I heard you go to all the Sherman. I heard you go to all the Sherman shows down there. James goes to the Sherman shows.
Yeah. I go to the Sherman shows a lot. Yeah, and James knows it because he's been there a lot of times when I've been there. It's pretty cool.
I don't referee a lot there, but I did get in the ring last month for a main event. But mostly I just kind of make sure things go the way they're supposed to go.
Yeah, and I've noticed you've laid down the law 2 or 3 times.
Well, sometimes you have to do that with these guys. It's like babysitting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it is. And it's just one of those things. I mean, I know you have to sometimes get in there and say, hey, I'm not going to put up with such and such. I mean, it's... let me think here. Is there anything else I wanted to ask you? I mean, there's so much. Right. There's so much and everything. Well,
think about it, babe. We'll probably try to get her on, get him back on, and you might be able to ask him the same question again if you don't mind.
Okay.
Good night, man.
Well,
thanks for calling in. Okay.
Okay. It was nice talking to you. James.
You too, Vanessa. Take care.
I'm going to sure try. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
I tell you what, brother, she's your fan right there, man. She knows.
Well, it's about. Yeah. You're lucky when you have people that care about you, one way or the other. So I'm always happy to see fans that follow you. Yeah, no matter who they are, or where they come from.
So like I said, she's going to get into the scrapping match there over talking to the referee. Hey man, all the boys have wrote books and all that stuff. I knew you wrote one called The Third Man.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I've been trying to finish a second book forever, and I haven't gotten around to finishing it yet. But I keep staying too busy to do it. But I need to take the time and just finish it up. I've almost got it there, but. I wrote that back in I think 2013 is when it was released, and it's been a pleasant surprise to me that so many people have enjoyed it, and it really wasn't so much about me as it was about the guys that I worked with, and mostly in the Dallas in the Sportatorium area. And I've been really, really happy with the response from it.
Yeah, what's your other book title right now? Can you tell me?
Well, this one's going to be a little bit more about it's going to have some things in it about the global era when Global took over there, and then about my experiences in Japan, and about a period of time I spent in Memphis, which turned out to be a real interesting situation, and also going to be about this last few years dealing with the NWA and what's gone on to get it to where it is right now today. And that's really the part that's holding me up, because I wanted to have a pretty clear picture of where they were and where they were going before I finished it up. And I think I do that now. So I feel pretty comfortable that I can go ahead and finish it up and have an ending that I'm happy with.
Hey, so Vanessa just brought up his point working with the Von Erichs. Tell us a little bit about back in the day when you worked the classic Cotton Bowl matches with the Von Erichs. They still that place up? Was there like, I guess that was like a more of a different atmosphere than it was just working any other arena since it was just a Cotton Bowl?
That was a unique thing when they started running the places like Cotton Bowl and Texas Stadium and places like that, because that just wasn't done very often in wrestling. And there was one of those shows. I think the one that I wasn't working it, but the one that Kerry won the NWA title in, I think that set all kinds of records. And it's just a unique thing for wrestling to have that kind of atmosphere and that kind of attendance. And if you go back and look at it, a lot of the things that happened in Dallas in world class really set the standard for what they're doing today. The TV was way above everything else anybody else was doing as far as the quality of it, the way the cameras were shot, and the whole thing, the whole presentation was just ahead of its time. And a lot of that stuff Vince took it to another level, but that was really the precursor of that, and a lot of those things came from world class. The way they used music, the whole bit. It was a unique place to work.
Yes, it was. Man, they did once they went through there, and then I think Vince had the Pontiac Dome. They said it was the world's largest indoor event they had there in Detroit.
Yeah,
it was kind of the same theme up there. Hey, speaking of your books, brother, where can people find them at? Are they at Amazon or?
They're on. Yeah, you can find them on Amazon, and also you can go to Mark James's Memphis Memories website, and it's on there. He was my publisher, and he's got them there too. So, but Amazon's the easiest way. You go there and find it there.
How long did it take you to write that book, The Third Man?
How long did it take?
Yeah.
Lord. a lot longer. That's longer than this, as long as this one's taken to the second one. Actually, what happened was I was asked to write some columns for a website, and I started doing that, and most of them were about the Global Wrestling Federation, and there were some other things that I went off into, but that's where it kind of all got started. And then I had several people that asked me about writing a book, and I just never felt like there would be any interest in a book that I would write, to be honest with you. And finally, Dutch Mantell actually kind of talked me into it. Mark James was publishing his books, and he kind of pushed me into going ahead and doing it. So I took some of those stories that I'd already written and then added to that and enhanced those and re-edited them, I guess is what I would, and added some things to them and got a little bit more detail, and it took about 3 years to do all that, to be honest with you.
3 years, man. I read it. Would you just me? I forget half the stuff I've done anyway. I got short-term memory, but I guess you got to care around or something like that. And that's the thing about writing a book is you all you got your own memory or whatever record you got, and and that's how I did it. I can't say that everything happened exactly the way I remember it, but I think they did. That's the way I remember them. That's all you can do is just be as honest as you can be when you're writing things like that. And and then when you're writing about other people, that's a little easier because you can get details about them, and you know how you felt about them and how your interaction was with them. So a lot of that book was about those guys. About the Von Erichs and about Akbar and the guys that Chris Adams and John Layfield and Rod Price, all those guys that I worked with back in those days, and a lot of those stories were about my relationship and my interaction with them. So, it was pretty easy to be honest about that. The hard part about it is that there's a lot of other things you could say
and you start debating about, how much or what you really want to say, because sometimes there's some things I think are just better left unsaid. And I didn't write it to be an expose all book about anybody. I wrote it to be as honest as I could be, and maybe expose my relationship with them in an honest way, not tell a bunch of dirt and that kind of thing. And I think I accomplished that.
You talk about having interactions with the people you're writing about. What individual did you love the ref their match? And was there one, which I'm sure there was, and was there one like, man, I got him again, or, you know what I'm saying?
There were a few like that, yeah. Honestly, Doug, there were guys that I loved to be in the ring with, and all of those guys had one thing in common: they could work. They were skilled. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ever in awe of anybody in particular. I wasn't a guy who felt like I needed to be in the main event so I could be next to this guy or that guy, and because they had a big name, that never meant anything to me. What meant something to me is telling the story in the ring, and being with guys who knew how to do that and would allow me to be a part of that. And so all those guys and all of them too, the guys that we worked with that were just really skilled, and they could get in the ring, and every match they had was going to be something you could enjoy. And those are the guys that I just always favored. And when I was in charge and I got to the point to where I had the stroke, I put myself in those matches a lot of times instead of going into a main event. So, I was, to me, it was all about the work. It wasn't, and that's the main thing. So, the guy, if a guy was skilled, if a guy was a guy that you knew the match was going to be good no matter who he was with, that's the guy I was always favored and always wanted to be in the ring with. And there were a lot of those. You know them as well as I do, and like yourself. I always enjoyed working with you, and I worked with guys who they knew their business.
Thank you, brother. I figured you was going to be the one I got matches again, man. Get me out of here.
No, well, there were a few guys like that I would go like, oh, man. But, and you probably, I know you had some of those too, but that's just the way it is in this business, and it's not always going to be peaches and cream, so you have to take some of that, some of the ones you have to kind of, I guess, it's kind of like pulling it out of them a little bit, and it's harder to do with some guys than it is others. And you sometimes you just have to be in there and find a way to do that.
Yes, sir, I agree wholeheartedly. Well, James, everybody, people's wanting to get a hold of you, check you out. Or you got a Twitter, you got a Facebook. What do you got going?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, JamesBeard10. I'm not hiding from anybody, so I use my name out there. My name is on Facebook. Just same old James Beard, and I'm pretty easy to find. So if somebody wants to get a hold of me, that's not a big mystery or anything.
Awesome, bro. Hey, man, I know you got things to do tonight and everything. I'm glad you still got time to be on the show, man. I sure appreciate it, brother. Tell Rod I said hi tomorrow, man, when you're on down there.
I will do that. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Yeah, I'll be down in Lake Charles, Louisiana tomorrow night, and I'll see our old buddy Rod Price down there. He's gonna show up, and I'll be riding down there with Tim Storm, so I'll be in good company, and Teddy. I don't know if you know Teddy Nall. He runs that down there, so I'll be around some good guys. So I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, boss, anytime, man. Doors always open for you, brother. Okay, man. I love you, brother. You keep your case safe out there, and I'll be talking at you some other time.
Great, Doug. The love is returned. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me goosebumps in talking about telling the story in the ring, man. All you indie guys out there, you knee slappers and hip huggers, whatever you do out there, taking what he says, it's called telling the story. And also out there, people make a comment once in a while, well, you're just a mark. Remember, we're all our marks is why we got in this business. And I think somebody out there is probably listening right now and saying, hey, I'm glad he said something about it. Well, it wraps it up this week. Sensational Sean Bryant is, I guess last time I heard he was out with 2 4-foot dwarfs at a bar somewhere. So I don't know if he'll be able to make it next week or not, but I'm sure he will. But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, next week's guest is going to be matter of fact, Wildcat Wendell Cooley. We got him coming up, and I'll announce the other ones next week. Well, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for tuning in to Pretty Boy Doug's Masters Kayfabe Corner. And remember, be good. If not, be good at it.